Vanakkam, Namaskar, and welcome to my podcast, The People I Meet. My name is Shruti Vijay Kumar Vasant. I'm a radio jockey from Chennai. And today, joining me on this podcast is someone who I have the pleasure of having known right from when I was a very, very young child. We danced together quite a lot growing up, and then we went different ways. But today, we both are in completely different streams of life. But we are still connected very much thanks to the world of social media, and we've, I think, sort of seen each other grow through the years. So it gives me immense pleasure in welcoming to my podcast Karthika Shravanti, entrepreneur and an amazing chef who holds the brand of Bakeman Begins. Welcome to my podcast, Karthika. How are you doing?
Thanks for the nice welcome, Shruti. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So, like I said to all of my listeners, our journey has been, I think, very seamlessly sort of amalgamated through the arts. Both of us being dancers, right? Training under the same guru. We've sort of had this friendship equation right from a very young age, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that we've kept in touch and we've grown through the years and we've been a part of each other's journey, silently watching each other do the things.
I think we were even there in the UK around the same time.
Exactly. Yes, it's such a beautiful, very fortunate accidents of life, right? I want to today take you through, of course, your journey is something that we've all tracked, and I'm sure you've been featured in countless newspaper articles, you've been featured on several live sessions of late because, you put out your journey and you've inspired a lot of young home bakers to get on the baking wagon. Right? So let's go back to the beginning because I know that you studied really hard and got into one of the finest institutions in Chennai and did engineering. But today you're a chef. So tell us a little bit about how that happy accident happened.
So I did engineering because just like anyone else, we don't have an option or we don't know how to explore our options after completing our school. So engineering was kind of like an obvious next step. So I kind of went and did that, but I was also good at studies. My parents were always, like IIT and stuff like that, although I was not that much of a nerd, but I did get into a good college and then I finished, and as the next step, I got placed in a nice IT company as well.
Right.
But, reality strikes after you start working and have a monotonous working life. So in order to be able to do that for a long time, you will have to like your job. So this I realized only after I started working.
Right.
So the feeling that you get on Monday mornings or the Friday evenings.
Yes.
So that kind of that's kind of like a vicious cycle that I didn't want. So I just kind of picked up a hobby when I was working in Bangalore.
Right.
And that's why I came across a baking class and I just enrolled myself in it. And then from there, everything picked on. So I just found my calling. In simple words, I just found my calling, and then I kept practicing and doing more and more stuff. I used to give it to my friends, relatives. So all the encouragement and, the good words just took me forward from there.
It's a fantastic journey that you've had. I've watched you from the beginning, right? From when Facebook was the thing, to now Instagram and YouTube and taking these online classes and everything. You had a very strict process when it came to all of these things. You have always been a very no-nonsense person. You've always been very determined, and you've been very honest with what your beginnings were, right?
Yes.
Right? I still remember all of your stories. You go back, you talk about your roots, you talk about your failures as much as you talk about your success. And that's something I think that's truly commendable in today's day and age. Going back to the beginning, I'm always very intrigued. I know you've said the story about Bakeman Begins, the name quite often, but to everyone who's listening to my podcast for the first time, if you could share us the story of Bakeman Begins.
Okay, so I started baking around in the year 2012, and that was the year when The Dark Knight Rises movie came out.
Yes.
I had just finished my first baking class and I was just uploading the pictures on Facebook as a very enthusiastic first time baker.
Right.
And I was just thinking of a good name, like a word play that I can put for the album and, keep uploading my pictures.
Right.
Since everything was like The Dark Knight Rises, the Batman and everything,
Right.
So that's how it came from Bakeman Begins to Bakeman Begins.
Okay.
And I just stuck to the name. I don't know, somehow I didn't feel like changing it. Many feel that it's very childish. I mean,
Right.
I didn't find it childish initially, but I now find it childish. But then, you just stick to it for sentiment reasons. It just works, so you just keep it. Yeah, that's the story behind the name.
Sometimes I think it's the simplest of things, right? Sometimes when it's so close to your heart, when it's so personal, it feels like it's a part of you, and you take great pride in
it's a
that
small
identity.
memory. That's right. Yeah.
A very beautiful memory at that. And today, Bakeman Begins is one of the most sought after, especially when it comes to couture cakes, right? One of the most sought after brands. And you were in fact one of the first, I think, home bakers in Chennai who brought about this fad of the fondant cakes and the customized cupcakes. So how has that journey been? I'm sure you've traveled quite a lot and you've also taken masterclasses from a lot of people, and you keep learning and updating your skills. So tell us a little bit about, the flip side of baking. Everybody sees the bright side. So tell us a little bit about the flip side.
I mean, like any other profession, people get to see only the success on social media or whatever. But what goes behind the scenes is like endless hours of hard work, research, trials and errors, wastage of material, getting frustrated, burning midnight oil, so many things. But one thing about this profession is it's very physically taxing. And after, I can say this for sure, after working so hard for 7 to 8 years, it's finally started taking the physical toll on me. So unless and until you keep yourself fit, you can't stand for hours in the kitchen and work. For someone who sees all this from outside, it looks very attractive and very glamorous, and obviously it's a very creative profession, but obviously you need to sacrifice a lot in order to come to this position. You need a lot of sacrifice, patience. So what I find is a lot of people are passionate, but not many of them have the patience to reach the level where most of the experienced bakers are. Most of them want to come to that position as soon as possible. So that is something what the budding bakers will need to keep. They need to keep patience. All good things take time with practice. So all these things matter a lot. And obviously the hard work and the physical pain that we go through behind the scenes, everything.
And definitely there is no shortcut to success, like you said, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very important for a lot of people to realize, because especially like we were talking, social media according to me is a very positive place. I keep saying this very often because I believe I have made a lot of positive connections. I have met a lot of amazing human beings and built my network through that, and I tend to keep it very positive. But of course, the negative side of it does exist, and there are a lot of brickbats, and with the bouquets, all of that comes. So how well do you sort of handle criticism? Because I'm sure in a field such as this, there's a lot of complaints, and this is not a time where you can say the customer is always right, because we've also read a lot of scary stories, right? So take us through that. How do you sort of handle that when it happens?
Criticism is there in all of the service-based industries. Criticism is like a part and parcel of it. Initially, it's very natural and human to take it to heart and be scared to attempt it the next time. Even everyone goes through that phase. But I think eventually you should know that you as a person is different, and you as a person doing that job is different. When somebody criticizes something, it's not that you are bad or anything like that. You just need practice, or something went wrong that day, and it's always fixable. So what steps I take is when someone gives me a critical feedback, I just analyze whether it's like a positive feedback, or is it something they expect refunds, or basically nitpick. So if it's something like that, then we can probably just not take it to your heart, or don't have to really feel anything for it. But if it's a positive feedback or constructive feedback, it's definitely something one should take it and work on it. That is very, very important, because feedback is one of the things that help you grow basically as an artist or in a service-based industry basically. Yeah, that's about it. So negative feedback is like part and parcel of it. You have to grow a thick skin when you're in service industry, and it's not like everybody can like your product. because you cannot make everyone happy. So that is something one has to understand. You need to have an open mind and you should be open to criticism.
Very well said. I think it comes from, years of experience coming to sort of understand that and have the maturity that, of course, there are days when, everything goes perfectly well, and there are days where things don't go all right. So, in a typical baker fashion, right? Okay. What happens in a day of Karthika Shravanti's life?
So what happens every day is we reach work and we kind of write down the production list for the day. So we give priority to whatever needs to be done for the day, which needs to go out the same day, and any preps that can happen for the next day or the day before, a day after tomorrow's cakes.
Right.
I will need to, give out those works to my staff or my artist or whoever it is, interns. And I will need to sit and reply for inquiries. Initially, I used to be the one to do the baking and the answering to queries and talking to clients and stuff like that. But once you start growing, you'll have to, designate some of the jobs to your staff. So you need to, I need to do that. I need to sit down and reply to the inquiries, be nice, be soft, because there'll be 1,000 questions for any product, basically. So you need to be patient enough to answer that, talk to the clients. So that actually takes a majority part of my working hour, to sit and, interact with the clients and stuff like that. And then other things like I also have a store where I sell baking supplies. So, ordering stuff, checking the stock, and, anything that needs to be done for the storefront. And anything. So most of the art-based work I do, and most of the baking and the regular stuff I designated to my interns. So anything specially that needs to be done on a cake, I sit and do it.
Right.
And I used to work long hours before, but now I've cut it short, and I kind of work only 6 to 7 hours a day now because of, I told you that I need to take care of my health a little more. I just leave home and have some fun.
No, that's exactly what my next question was going to be, because, a day in the life of Karthika Shravanti sounds like it is so jam-packed, right? Like you have this schedule, and you have this timetable, and you have to keep going at it, checklist one after the other, and you keep ticking things off. So what happens when you sort of need a day off? How do you sort of take that mental day off? Because that is so important in today's day and age, right?
That's, definitely. Initially, I never used to take even a day off. But then after much discussions, me and my husband decided to take Sunday off. Because Saturday, Sundays are like major business days for us. Because that's when celebrations happen, parties happen. But to give away, to decide to take an off on a Sunday was a big blow at first, because I'll be losing out on most of the business. But I somehow decided to go for it because that's the only day I get to spend with family and my husband. Right. So I had to take that call because that is equally important, right? Family is more equally important to this. Nowadays, I take an additional day off whenever this work doesn't involve my interference or there's something that the staff can manage. Right. Then I decide to take one day off, additional day of the week off.
Okay, so this comes from a place where now Karthika Shravanti is a full-fledged entrepreneur. She's a name that's established in the industry, and Bakeman Begins, like I said, is one of the most sought-after brands because you conduct a lot of workshops outside. Of course, this was before the pandemic, but yes, you still do a lot of these things, right? But going back to the beginning, because I'm sure somebody who's listening to this podcast right now must be thinking, yes, she's talking from a place of experience, so she can afford to take this day off. Right?
That's correct.
So what would you sort of like to tell somebody who's just starting off? Somebody who, obviously, because there's a lot of, especially when it comes to women, as much as I hate to say it in 2020, there's a lot more onus, there's a lot more pressure when it comes to a woman entrepreneur. We are trying to break that. But as you said, family, all of these commitments sort of weigh heavily on our shoulders. So
definitely,
what would you like to share to the people who are sort of still holding back because they feel, oh my God, what is my family going to say? Oh my God, what is society going to say? What would you like to share?
So I think the luckily for me, I mean, me and my husband live separately, so we kind of just adjust and do things. But for those who live with family and, taking care of elder parents or in-laws, I mean, now I realize, kind of after coming to this position, I realize that family is a little more important than work. And work is just, even though it's my passion, I kind of feel that it's just an instrument for me to keep surviving in this world, just financially. Okay, but for those who are starting, I think they should hold on to their passion. But I mean, when you initially start with, you have to sacrifice some of your hours. You might have to work a little extra in order to come to a position where you can then take an off or spend more time with your family and stuff like that. But I wish people do, I mean, ladies or women who really are passionate about something, I wish they get the support that they really deserve from their family and friends. Because I've met a lot of women who come to my class. They really don't get the support from their family. Right. So it's a little sad to see. And sometimes they come to my class and they ask me not to post the pictures or not to share their work, because basically they don't get the support. So I feel a little bad. I hope things change for them, because by nurturing women, they kind of just make the entire house happy and more productive and things like that. So I just wish they get the support from their families.
That's a very beautiful thought. It truly is, because like I said, we are in 2020, things are changing and there are a lot more avenues opening up for everybody, irrespective of gender, right? But going back, Karthika, just talking a little bit, tracing journeys. When you're talking about coming to this position, we're talking about family, we're talking about support and all of that. Definitely it would have been a huge deal, right? Deciding to be a baker full time, especially with the kind of career that you had in IT. How did you convince your parents that this was it?
The thing is, a lot of people now are trying to take the jump from being what they are into directly becoming a baker. Right. But I've always been really careful, and I've always taken that step with a lot of calculations. As you know, like I was baking alongside when I was working. I was taking orders and doing stuff like that. Only when that time is fine. But then after going to study and then coming back, I was working in a 5-star property and I was doing Bakeman Begins side by side again. More than the first time I decided to leave, my dad got really worked up because I decided to leave the second time as well when I was working in the 5-star property. Because according to the parents, they want their children to be secure and have a job and things like that. That's their mindset. According to me, I really did the calculation because I was really like accounting for how many cakes I used to do apart from work and how much I was making and will I be able to survive if I don't go for work, and all these calculations went behind the decision of leaving my full-time job. That's when I really I didn't take a blind jump. So I did a little bit of calculation, and once I got a confidence that maybe I can do this full-time, only then I decided to take that jump.
I think that's very, very important what you just said, because I think, of course, motivation is a very important thing in a lot of people's lives and we all need that extra push, right? But sometimes I think we don't realize that there's a lot of calculation. Taking risks in life is very important, but taking calculated risks is more sensible. Right? I think that's something that we definitely need to take into account, especially if you're starting young and you want to be an entrepreneur. There's a lot of the, BTS that people don't see. The behind the scenes actually is a lot more that you need to be aware of. Right. Getting back to talking a little bit about Karthika in the present. Okay. What do you think, Karthika? Leaving aside the baking, how do you think you have evolved in the last couple of years?
I'm not sure how I've evolved in the last couple of years, but I've definitely evolved in the last couple of months because of the quarantine. Right. I don't believe that I could stay idle at home for a whole 2 months because I was just on my feet the entire past 3-4 years. Yeah, exactly. And the quarantine kind of just put a pause button for everybody's life and have a different perspective. So I started doing a lot of spiritual practices like meditation, yoga, just being outside in the terrace with the nature and things like that. So I started enjoying that a lot more. Started gaining a lot of perspective on what life is, and it's just not about, doing your job and day in and day out and things like that. So even though it's my passion now, I kind of just take a back step saying that, okay, I have to do this for a few more years. So I need to have that physical ability to do it. So if I burn out now itself, I'll not be able to do it, or I'll have the passion to do it for a longer time. So I'm kind of like backtracking a little bit and slowing down and reducing my workload, even giving my staff a day off or two in the week, and just basically cutting down the work hours. So right now I work only like 9 to 2. That's all. 9:30 I reach, and by 2:30 we just pack up and leave. So right now my perspective is just work, and if you just be positive about it, I mean, we'll be fine like that.
Thank you so much for actually saying this, because like I was mentioning, right, as much as I like to think of social media as a very positive place, I think it also senses a lot of competitiveness, right? And I don't mean it in the wrong sense at all, but we're always so consumed by what everybody else is doing in life.
I used to be like that. It was such a vicious, toxic circle that I don't want to look at what someone is doing, who is in my field, but at the same time I also want to look at what they are up to, so that I'm on par with them. So that kind of thing is there with everybody. So that's why I took a detox from Facebook a few months back, and then only very recently I just came back again just to use it for my class purposes. But that thing is, that kills us, the social media. But it's all up to you. I mean, how you handle it. If you get consumed in it, then you get consumed in it. So you need to take a step back and let that not control you.
I think that's very, very important. And again, that I think comes from a place of lot of maturity somewhere. We need to understand where we need to draw the line between the virtual world and the real world, and sort of just let the real world be and not be consumed by, social media. But of course, this is going out on all social media platforms, so I can't negate that as well. So keeping the positivity still intact. I just want to ask you one last thing, because I know if we could talk, we could keep this going for a long time. And there are a lot of things that we could cover, a lot of different topics. But I just want to ask Karthika, 3 things that you admire about yourself, that you think, that you want to give yourself a pat on the back for, and 2 things that probably you want to maybe work on in maybe the next couple of years.
Okay, the first question was the 3 things that I like the most about myself, right?
Yes, something that you're very proud of.
Okay, very proud of. I'm very hardworking and like self-made or made from scratch. And I think I'm very kind and very forgiving. That's another. Third one is probably I'm like very empathetic. I mean, if somebody is in trouble or they're facing some difficulty, I think I just think of their problem as my own, and I get very emotional and try to help them as much as possible. I mean, this is what my husband tells me, so
I think that's important, right? I think sometimes more than us loving ourselves, because I know we do a lot of that.
But we don't exactly write down the things that we like about each other.
And it's nice that your support system is constantly there to tell you and help you on and support you and make you the better version of yourself. I think that is absolutely beautiful. Alright, and what would you like to,
work on?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I need to stay a little more away from my phone. That's something I need to do. I think I do get very impatient at times. I mean, when it comes for my own stuff. So I think I need to be a little more patient and also stay away from my phone a little bit more.
What an honest conversation with Karthika Shravanti. She is a chef, she's a baker, she's an entrepreneur, a boss lady who has truly shown, Chennai what she's made up of, and she's someone who I've really been inspired by. Her journey is something that I am truly, truly proud of. Sometimes they say it feels like you have been a part of the journey yourself. Like it's like when Usain Bolt is running and he breaks the world record, you feel like, hey, I was there cheering and congratulating him. So I feel like I'm part of the success. That's how I feel when I watch Karthika grow from strength to strength. So thank you so much. The reason why I asked you that last question was basically to just remind my listeners also, sometimes it's very important for us to give ourselves a pat on the back, because nobody else knows our journey, right? Nobody else has walked in our shoes. They don't know what it is like. The way we handle life sometimes it takes a lot of strength to just get out of bed and do the things that we do. And if you've done that today, I think I'm very proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself as well. So Karthika, once again, thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast and just sharing so candidly about your life. And like I mentioned earlier, I think all of us are very, very proud of your journey, and you truly make Chennai proud. So thank you so much, and wishing Bakeman Begins a lot more success and growth. And hopefully one day, like you said, you want to settle in the mountains, right?
Yes,
there's a lot of nature. Yeah, so I hope...
And with at least 4 dogs, yeah.
I hope that dream of yours comes true, and wishing you and your family all the very best, Karthika.
Thank you, Shruti. And I also want to let you know that you're such a great inspiration, and you're so positive, and I look forward to seeing your stories. Sometimes I steal your stories or whatever captions. Very positive person, and I really like to follow you and your journey. Yeah, I mean, it's so nice to see a person from childhood and to look at their journey, take different paths, and you know, somehow converging again. So it's a beautiful yours is also a very beautiful journey, and it was lovely talking to you today. So all the best to you, Shruti. Yeah, and stay the same way, and stay just the way you are. You're superb.
Thank you so much. It means so much to me when friends like us get together and we do things like this, because I think the world needs a lot of love, and the world needs a lot of kindness, and that is what we're here. We need to be spreading a lot more positive vibes. So here's me wishing you a very, very, very happy day, week, wherever it is that you're listening to my podcast. This podcast is The People I Meet, and my name is Shruti Vijay Kumar Vasant. I'm a radio jockey from Chennai. I will meet you next time on this podcast with a very exciting personality and an inspirational story. Until then, take good care of yourself and stay safe. Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you. Stay safe.